for keeping up with us. I'm Brad Pearson with D Magazine, and with us today is Bill Sebastian, Dana Pumpkin, and Mike McNamara from QWERTY. Hi there.
Hello.
So, for the poor folks who haven't seen the movie yet, what's it about?
Well, QWERTY is a love story about two very, very lonely people named Zoe and Marty. And it's about how their relationship gives them the strength to conquer some issues that they've failed to deal with and try some new things in their life. One of those things happens to be for Zoe's character to attempt competing at the National Scrabble Championship because she happens to have an innate talent for words. One of the things that I think has alienated her and made her very alone, but she finds a way to put that to good use.
What drew all of you, sort of separately as directors and actors, to the project?
Well, I can say that the script, for me, Juliet McDaniel wrote the script, and I met Juliet and Nat through the festival run of my previous film, Midlothian, and they saw the film, they were fans, and they asked me to direct. I read the script, and I thought it was really, really unique. The Scrabble aspect is something that I think gets a lot of people's attention, which is good, but I was more attracted to the characters and their story. And I just thought they were very, very unique characters that would be a lot of fun to bring to life.
I agree with Bill, especially about the Scrabble aspect of QWERTY. I think that's a very unique backdrop for a film that we haven't really seen yet. So when I read the script, I was very drawn to the overall story. So that's for the character of Zoe that I play. I felt very drawn to exploring loneliness and just her vulnerability and her perseverance to keep trying in the face of rejection repeatedly and
Constant rejection.
Yeah, and just she'll keep trying. She keeps trying to overcome the loneliness and to find courage and love. So it was something I wanted to explore a little deeper.
I was drawn to the project because it gave me the opportunity to be a bit dickish. Is that a word?
That's one of the words I was thinking.
Is that a word?
Yeah.
It's not. Now, actually, that's really important. You can't use that in Scrabble. Dickish does not work in Scrabble. If they challenge you on that, I think then you don't get to use dickish, plus you lose your turn, and then the other person can come right back with fez or some other three-letter word if they challenge you. It's risky. But yeah, my character of Ken, it was just kind of fun because he gets to, it's always fun to play the bad guy, so to speak. And in this case, he's just more of an antagonizer. But there are only a few ways to be nice, but there are so many ways to make people's lives miserable and be cruel. So for me, it was fun to be able to explore those. Cue the plane. There it is, right on track.
Yeah, all of you sort of touched upon how much, I mean, Scrabble is sort of the third lead in this movie. What do you think is so appealing about that to an audience and from creators and actors?
It's just such a popular game. I mean, everyone's played it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And then I hadn't ever heard of anything done plot-wise with it. I know that a lot of these board game companies are turning the entire board game into grandiose films.
Battleship the movie.
Involving aliens and battleships and monopolies and whatever. This was not that, obviously, but Scrabble presents a metaphor for the way you have to attempt to put together a relationship, or just your life in general, given a certain number of, tiles and what's out before you, and then there's all these people on the other side that are laying down words, and you got to react to it, and so it just seemed like a nice metaphor. That's what I had for that topic, but that's it.
I mean, I also think Scrabble's an interesting game. I love playing it, and we were on the set. We were obsessed with Scrabble, playing it on our phones and all of that. And it's an interesting dichotomy of an introverted game and an extroverted game, where you're kind of in it for yourself, and you're not really playing on a team except your own. You're representing yourself, and you have to compete against another person and do the best you can. And so for the character that I play, I think it's interesting because it's such an introverted game that you rely on your own faculties, but then you have to reach out to another person in order to actually accomplish anything or succeed. So I don't know, I love Scrabble. I kind of had to back it off a little bit because I could find myself losing a lot of time playing it. It's a great game, so I don't know. I answered that.
Real quick, I'll just chime in that the beauty of Scrabble is that anybody can play it, anybody can enjoy it, and anybody can feel smart. Because if you're playing Scrabble, let's say you're not that good at it, all you have to do is find someone dumber than you to step up to the plate, right? Then you're suddenly really smart because the guy I'm going up against has a very limited vocabulary. So it's kind of nice. Anybody can be great at Scrabble and kind of walking away thinking, wow, I've really got quite the vocabulary. Very impressive. So that's the beauty of Scrabble. We've been talking about the film all week here in Dallas, and anyone we mention it to mentions, oh, I love Scrabble, or, you know, at some point you grow up with Scrabble. It's such an amazing game, and it's one that will stand the test of time. So it's pretty great for us to be fortunate enough to be with a film that centers on it.
It seems like throughout the film there's a very specific knowledge of the competitive Scrabble circuit, Scrabble in general, strategy. How did you work that in? How did you guys have that knowledge to begin with? I know obviously something came with the script, but that can't hold all of it.
Yeah, well, actually, I think every film does go through this to some degree, where scenes actually get rearranged at the last minute. Sometimes there's, last minute rounds of revisions to the script where you're just sort of shifting a scene here or there to place it in the right place so that you can, foreshadow what's to come. There was a little bit of that, and then even more of it in the editing. So we thought about it a lot, and then we thought about it again, and we thought about it again, and rearranged it so that it would work. There are parts in the movie where Dana's character Zoe is studying Scrabble, and when we shot the film, we just showed her in front of a television, and the television was blank, and then we had to fill that in. And we edited the whole film before we decided what to fill that in with, and having the whole film edited before us really informed what we needed to fill that with, and helped us create
Dana, your character Zoe, we touched upon it a little bit earlier, just sort of gets dumped on by her family, her job. How do you get yourself so low as an actress to be able to sort of portray that? Because there's times where it's just hopeless.
And we've all been through those moments, I guess, yeah, it's, to put myself back there in that time, I mean, for me, there are lots of different things that I would draw upon an emotion that I'm maybe not identifying with at that particular moment. So for me, I had to kind of think back to certain times in my life where I have felt something similar, and I think we all have felt rejected and hopeless and, clumsy and unlikable at certain times, and I think we all have those times that we can pull from when we need to put ourselves there. And every actor, I think, has their little things they need to do to turn it up. So I did that when I needed to.
I liked how, on the surface it's sort of a romantic comedy, but I think that there's a lot going on there that, and this is a compliment, that makes it not feel like a romantic comedy. But there's a lot more depth there in terms of the character development and sort of the backdrop with the Scrabble. How did you balance that, the fact that it's still at its core a romantic story without being sappy or overplaying it?
Well, I will just say that that was something that Juliet actively thought about when she was writing the script. She didn't want to write a normal romantic comedy. She wanted to write something very different, less formulaic, I suppose. And then to add a level to that, before I actually read the script, and they handed it to me, and they said, "Here's a romantic comedy we'd like you to direct." I said, "Well, listen, I don't know if I'm the right guy for this job because I don't like romantic comedies." And then I read the script, and I said, "You know what? I actually think I am the right guy for this job because I don't like romantic comedies." And all that fringe stuff that sort of veers from the romantic comedy path, I thought that's what I identify with this script, and those are the things I'm going to help, drive home as a director.
So what has, I know you two and Eric Haley, one of the other leads, worked together on Dwelling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so why do you guys continue to work together? I mean, I guess it makes sense why you two continue to work together.
Well, actually, yeah, so our first project together was QWERTY, actually. But Dana and Eric have been working together for many years before we met as part of a comedy troupe, but I'll let Dana talk about that.
Yeah, Eric and I have worked together since I think around 2005. We were in a sketch comedy group, so we've been working together and known each other for a really long time. But as for Zoe and the role of Zoe, I actually auditioned for it. People may jump to the conclusion that because we are married, that naturally I would be, handed this role, which absolutely wasn't the case. I read the script and I was interested in auditioning for it, and Bill could probably talk a little bit more about the process, that whole process. But I auditioned for it, and had a callback like everybody else, and went through the whole thing too. So I feel very fortunate that Bill and we learned that we do work really well together creatively. A lot of people in whatever career they may find that they might not work with their spouse so great. They just like to have their thing during the day, and at the end of the day go home to their spouse and have their own life together. But I think we're pretty lucky that we found that we can do both.
You agree? Hopefully.
Yeah, I'll add to the story of why Dana had to audition for the film. Some of my previous films were my creation from the beginning. I wrote the script, I was the executive producer and the director, and you could really make really big decisions like casting all by yourself in that case. This one was someone else's script. A different producer was on board well before I came on, and I wanted to make very sure that that everybody at the top making this film all had the same opinion about the lead actors, both of them in the film. It ended up being, Eric, our great friend, and Dana, my wife, but it was very important to me that I wasn't, the only one standing there throughout a 21-day shoot who thought this was a good idea.
And I think the lesson that we should all take away from this is if you're going to direct a feature film, make sure you marry someone that's really damn talented. Otherwise, it's going to really put strain on your marriage. So kudos to Bill for marrying a woman that is a really good actress, because Dana brings it home in QWERTY. I'm going to get back to my margarita.
So to raise some of the funds for this, you guys used Indiegogo, which seems like it's really sort of a developing mechanism for artists, no matter what they're doing, to try to get funds for fundraising. Do you think that sort of crowdsourcing model is the way that fundraising is going to go, and do you think it's viable in the end?
I do. I don't think it will be the only way. I think it will supplement more traditional sources. I can't think of very many filmmakers that I know who are doing projects who aren't either using Indiegogo, Kickstarter, or USA Arts. I forget. Yeah, those three sites. It's unless you need millions of dollars for what you're trying to accomplish, it's almost silly not to, because you can get yourself started. And in our case, we didn't get started that way. We got started with just about nothing, and we needed to finish the movie without breaking the bank and losing our home. So that's where the Indiegogo came in, very much late in the game.
So I know you guys are just in Kansas City. Where do you go from here? Where's the film go now?
Yeah, so Kansas City was actually last night. We drove through the night trying to avoid tornadoes on our way down here. And And on Thursday, we go to Nashville for the Nashville Film Festival. So that's 3 in a row. We've got like 6 screenings in a 10-day period. Dana and I are traveling around with our first newborn baby, Amelia. So we're like, it's all a whirlwind, or a tornado, so to speak, for us. And then following that, we've got 3 more festivals lined up in May and June. Big Island Film Festival in Hawaii, Seattle True Independent Film Festival, and one that we are not allowed to announce yet.
Sounds fancy. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us today, guys, and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.